For thousands of years, the Mandalorians have been considered by many to be the fiercest warriors ever forged. Some of the most famous members of these helmeted people have changed the galaxy forever. Djarin, Bo-Katan Kryze, Sabine Wren. They are the ultimate survivors, carrying their storied traditions across many worlds and through countless wars. They are focused and ruthless in conquest, even when it means warring with their own kind. But with so much infighting, they almost seem to be their own worst enemies. How do they always end up finding a way to survive? Why are some Mandalorians allowed to take off their helmets, while others always leave them on? And wait, how do Boba Fett and Jango Fett fit into all of this? There is so much to discover about these fascinating people. So let's find out about it all together. This is Star Wars Galaxy Guide, The Mandalorians.
Mandalore! For Mandalore! For Mandalore!
You can often tell that someone is a Mandalorian by the distinct armor that they wear. A unique visor and highly specialized gear, often including a jetpack. Don't get too close though. These are Mandalorians after all. They are feared soldiers and warriors, experts in hand-to-hand combat, as well as incredible sharpshooters, deadly against most any opponent, including Jedi. Their specialized armor is made from a rare metal alloy called Beskar, also known as Mandalorian steel. Beskar is nearly indestructible and can deflect blaster bolts, and even resist a lightsaber's blade. When not expertly flying around on their jetpacks, Mandalorians can also be found piloting their unique starfighters, dubbed gauntlets. They have a fierce sense of loyalty and tradition, almost to a fault. They follow their strongest members, often deferring decisions to trial by combat. They take pride in their heritage, including their native ancestral language of Mandowa. Most Mandalorians can trace their bloodline directly back to the Mandalorian system, part of the Outer Rim territories.
It's Mandalore. It looks scary, I know, but it was once green and beautiful.
It was eventually reduced to a desert planet when ravaged by war. Its capital, Sundari, was a sprawling city positioned underneath an enormous dome. The planet was further orbited by 2 moons, including Concordia, an agricultural settlement whose aggressive mining operations nearly destroyed its natural forest. Mandalore was home to the Mandalorians, as well as many unique creatures, including the 4-eyed tusked Alamite species, who lived in the wasteland beyond the cities. Other native beings are thought to have been long extinct, including the Jaigalar, also known as Shriekhawks, and the Mythosaur. The story of the Mythosaur was perhaps one of the most legendary Mandalorian tales ever told. It was rumored in ancient folklore to be an enormous dragon-like beast, first tamed by Mandalore the Great. It was from these legends that the Mythosaur skull signet was adopted and became the symbol of the Mandalorian people. Wait, what is a signet? Signets are symbols vastly important to the Mandalorian people. They can show which house or clan the Mandalorian represents.
Thank you. I will wear this with honor.
Let's start at the top. There is the ruler of all of Mandalore, who then controls the big factions known as houses, which are then supported by the smaller familial units, clans. Some of the most famous houses include House Kryze and House Cass. Powerful clans included Clan Kryze, Clan Wren, and Clan Vizsla. A rogue sect of the Mandalorians, the Children of the Watch, were viewed as zealots by the rest of their people. Based on the moon of Concordia, they were the most traditional in all aspects of their life. They did not take off their helmets. Their main goal was to re-establish the ancient ways. Some of these ancient traditions include following the Mandalorian Creed, a strict set of rules once adhered to by all Mandalorians, but that had fallen out of favor through the years. The absolute highest honor of this creed, however, was the saving of a foundling, a child adopted by a warrior of Mandalore. Both Din Djarin, a famed Mandalorian bounty hunter, and Grogu, his young ward, were considered to be foundlings.
A foundling is in your care by creed. Until it is of age or reunited with its own kind, you are as its father.
But thousands of years before Din Djarin and Din Grogu began their galactic adventures together, we must first go back to the days of the Old Republic.
I didn't know Mandalorians developed a type of lightsaber.
We didn't. This was one of a kind.
One of the most famous tales surrounded the Darksaber. A warrior named Tar Vizsla was the first Mandalorian accepted into the Jedi Order. He built a one-of-a-kind lightsaber with a Beskar hilt and a uniquely sparkling black blade. After his passing, Jedi kept it in their temple, but it was eventually stolen back, or liberated, if you prefer, by members of House Vizsla. It was then used to unify the Mandalorian people and strike down those who would oppose them. The Darksaber soon became a symbol of the leader of House Vizsla, and ultimately, the mark of the one true leader of all Mandalorians. Generations later, the Mandalorians still lived on Mandalore, but were now relegated to sprawling domed cities, the majority of its surface inhospitable. At this time, Duchess Sabine Kryze of Kalevala, a self-proclaimed pacifist, rose to lead the Mandalorian people. She attempted to usher in a new era of the new Mandalorians, those determined to be peacekeepers rather than constantly warring. But this led to a Mandalorian civil war, with many Mandalorians rebelling against these pacifist ideals. During this time, Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his young Padawan apprentice, Obi-Wan Kenobi, spent time on Mandalore on an extended mission to protect Satine from insurgents who had threatened her world. Their opponents sent bounty hunters, forcing Obi-Wan and Satine to clandestinely go on the run. Satine and Obi-Wan formed a deep bond, but Obi-Wan soon had to leave the planet because of his responsibilities to the Jedi. Satine was determined to rebuild her people alone, exiling the warriors who refused to give up their fighting ways to Mandalore's moon of Concordia, where they were believed to eventually die out. Years later, and seemingly unrelated, Obi-Wan Kenobi encountered a man wearing silver and blue Mandalorian armor, Jango Fett, while attempting to uncover a vast conspiracy to create a clone army for the Republic. It turns out that Fett had been used as the genetic template for every clone trooper, a secretive process created and implemented by the cloners of Kamino. As part of his payment, Jango required the Kaminoans to create for him an unaltered clone, who he raised as a son, naming him Boba. Many Mandalorians, however, refuted any claim of Fett's heritage, proclaiming they were unsure how he even received the armor. This conspiracy was never fully solved by the Jedi, and Jango was killed by one of their ranks during the Battle of Geonosis. Nevertheless, Jango's genes were imprinted on every clone who fought in the Clone Wars.
They are totally obedient, taking any order without question. We modified their genetic structure to make them less independent than the original host,
effectively making the Republic's gleaming white forces into a completely Mandalorian army.
Mandalore has prospered since the last time I was here.
Not everyone on Mandalore believes that our commitment to peace is a sign of progress.
At the start of the Clone Wars, and now prospering Mandalore, still under the leadership of Satine, refused to choose a side between the Republic and the Separatist movement. Satine had also become the leader of the Council of Neutral Systems, representing around 2,000 worlds. But her joint rule created rumors that the Mandalorians were building up an army to fight alongside the Separatists. Obi-Wan Kenobi was thus sent back to Mandalore by the Jedi Council to the domed capital city of Sundari to investigate. After surviving a bombing of the Peace Park, a memorial shrine to those lost in the Civil War, Duchess Satine and Obi-Wan departed to Concordia to investigate further. The plot to reclaim Mandalore finally came into focus. A fringe group of Mandalorian warriors dubbed Death Watch had taken over the seemingly abandoned mines of Concordia. Initially simply believed to be vandals and hooligans, Death Watch was made up of those warriors who had been exiled to Concordia after the Civil War and who were believed to have died out. They idolized violence and the warrior ways of the past, and had reformed under Pre-Vizsla, leader of Clan Vizsla, governor of Concordia, and current wielder of the Darksaber. Based within the moon's abandoned mines, they joined with Count Dooku and his separatist forces to attempt a takeover of Mandalore. But after an initial defeat, the separatists soon removed themselves from the warriors' conflict. Death Watch became further exiled, setting up temporary camps across the Outer Rim, including on Karlak and the swamp moon of Zanbar. In a stroke of luck, Death Watch forces found the former Sith Lord Maul and discovered that they shared a common enemy, the Jedi, and more specifically, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Also joining Pre-Vizsla on his quest for revenge was Lady Bo-Katan Kryze, a fearsome Night Owl warrior and estranged sister of Satine. Maul brought Death Watch together with his Shadow Collective, several criminal organizations, including Black Sun, the Pikes, the Hutts, and later Crimson Dawn, for additional support and armament. And by staging an attack by these fearsome foes on Mandalore, Vizsla was able to set himself up as a savior of the people, especially compared to the pacifist ways of Satine.
Death Watch is here to save you from these intergalactic gangsters that threaten our great city.
Vizsla framed Satine and imprisoned her, but despite his most conniving efforts, Vizsla was nonetheless betrayed and killed by Maul during an honor-bound duel with the former Sith apprentice.
Like you said, only the strongest shall rule.
Now the rightful wielder of the Darksaber, Maul took control of the planet to use it as a headquarters for his criminal enterprise. Bo-Katan, accompanied by a small contingent of Death Watch soldiers, led the ranks of the now Maul-controlled group, upset that an outsider was now on the throne of Mandalore. This kicked off a new, second Mandalorian civil war, which took place during the larger Clone Wars conflict, this time between the Mandalore Resistance and the Republic forces, including Jedi, versus the forces of Maul and his Death Watch. This was more than enough to regain the attention of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Pursued and captured by the now crimson-clad, horn-adorned Death Watch, Kenobi returned to Mandalore, only to witness the death of Duchess Satine at the blade of Maul's Darksaber. She died in the arms of a distraught Kenobi, the man she had always loved. Near the end of the Clone Wars, Maul hunkered down in the capital city of Sundari and was hunted down by Bo-Katan and former Jedi Ahsoka Tano. The pair were accompanied by Mandalorian troops loyal to Bo-Katan, as well as the Clone Battalion 332nd Division, led by Commander Rex. However, this was all simply a part of a disillusioned Maul's revenge plot, as he attempted to both take control of as much of the galaxy as possible and to lure Kenobi to the planet to kill him, a calculated method of revenge on both Kenobi and his former master, Darth Sidious. Ahsoka dueled Maul across Sundari.
I give you one last chance. Join me or die.
Never.
Maul and his traitorous Death Watch commandos were captured by Republic forces, and Bo-Katan was appointed regent of Mandalore. Kryze's reign as regent was short-lived when she refused to obey the wishes of the new Galactic Empire. The new Imperial forces began an occupation on the planet, and violence overtook Mandalore once more. Former Death Watch commander Gar Saxton betrayed both Kryze and his people, pledging loyalty to these Imperial forces and taking over the planet. Saxton was duly appointed as Imperial Viceroy and Governor of Mandalore, the planet and its people now under strict Imperial rule. During this time, a young Mandalorian warrior named Sabine Wren entered the Imperial Academy on Mandalore as a promising cadet. A proud member of Clan Wren and House Vizsla, she followed Imperial orders blindly, building weapons that were then used to further subjugate the Mandalorian people.
This is my work. I created the weapon that did this, and because of me, the Empire is going to turn my world into a graveyard.
One such super weapon, dubbed the Duchess, was an arc pulse generator that could be mounted onto a walker, with technology that expressly targeted the Mandalorian's Beskar armor. Horrified by her work, she eventually sabotaged the weapon, deserted her post, and joined the fledgling rebellion as an exile from her people. While helping the rebellion to find alternate trade routes, Wren arrived at the third moon of the Conquered Dawn system, a Mandalorian colony. There she met Fen Rao, protector of Conquered Dawn. Once a fighter pilot instructor for the Grand Army of the Republic, Rao bravely served during the Third Battle of Maigito. When made prisoner of the fledgling rebellion, Rao's protector base was ambushed by Imperial super commandos, Mandalorians who served the Empire, led by Gar Saxon. Sabine had discovered the Darksaber on Dathomir, brought there by Maul long after his defeat on Mandalore. And so, armed with the legendary blade, Wren returned to her ancestral home on Cronus and defeated Gar Saxon in combat, aided by her mother, Ursa. When attempting to rescue her imprisoned father, Ulrich, Sabine was once again confronted by her deadly weapon, the Duchess, which had been reconstructed by Imperial forces. The final Mandalorian civil war was brief, but decisive. With the help of the rebel-backed Clan Wren, Bo-Katan Kryze returned to her home planet as leader of the Mandalorian resistance, and fought against Saxon and the Empire.
Now I understand why the saber came to me, so I could pass it to you.
After helping to destroy the Duchess and removing the Imperial occupation from the world, Kryze was given the Darksaber by Sabine Wren and officially became the ruler of Mandalore once more. But the Empire does not forget. Led by the dastardly Moff Gideon, Imperial forces heavily bombed the planet during the Great Purge of Mandalore. Dubbed the Night of 1,000 Tears, Imperial fusion weapons crystallized the surface of the planet. The desert surface now became plagued with storms, making it nearly impossible for ships to navigate. As her people's leader, Bo-Katan made the decision to surrender to Moff Gideon, after her forces were annihilated in the disaster. Despite the ceasefire, she was betrayed by the Imperial warlord, and her people remained helpless.
The Darksaber is gone. You've lost everything. Mandalorians are weak once they lose their trinkets.
As part of this agreement, Gideon now had the Darksaber and control of Mandalore. Many, if not most, Mandalorians perished in the Purge. But all was not yet lost. The destruction of their people was so widespread that even after the fall of the Empire, Mandalorians remained hidden and scattered throughout the galaxy. One such group, the now splintered Children of the Watch, once lived on the Mandalorian moon of Concordia, but now occupied the sewers of the planet of Navarro in secret. Led by the mysterious Armorer, these Mandalorians attempted to keep their long-held traditions alive. The helmeted Armorer used her forge to craft Beskar weapons and protections for her fellow loyal warriors. The Armorer demanded an adherence to the strict way of the Mandalore, which forbade the removal of the helmets, among other beliefs. Following these rules and regulations often led to a common refrain spoken aloud among the Children of the Watch.
This is the way.
One of the Mandalorians, in fact, some may say the Mandalorian, based on Navarro, was Djarin, who found work as a bounty hunter, traversing the galaxy in his trusty Razor Crest starship and chasing down bounties for the highest bidder. One such mission led him to a mysterious Force-sensitive child, who he rescued from remnant Imperial forces and took under his wing.
I will adopt him as my own.
Elsewhere, Boba Fett, son of the deceased Jango Fett, had become one of the fiercest bounty hunters in the galaxy and staked the claim of his Mandalorian heritage, specifically his father's armor. He was able to prove Jango's foundling heritage and that he had fought in the Mandalorian civil wars. With the help of numerous allies, including Din Djarin, Boba Fett became the daimyo of Tatooine. Din, a former foundling himself, then teamed up with Bo-Katan to return to Mandalore, discovering that the planet was more livable than the Empire had led them to believe, with the native Alamites now residing in the planet's ruins. During this exploration, they plunged into the living waters under the civic center of Sundari. Din, in order to baptize himself in its murky depths, Bo-Katan, in order to save Din. Bo-Katan seemed to glimpse a living mythosaur, an omen that led her to finally claim the Darksaber and unite multiple Mandalorian factions to free their world from Imperial control once and for all. Encouraged by Din Djarin, as well as the Armorer, Kryze united the various remaining factions of the Mandalorians, including the Children of the Watch. Under Kryze's leadership, the Mandalorians restarted the Great Forge once more, and worked together to bring their home planet of Mandalore back to life. Din Djarin returned from these adventures to the planet of Navarro, settling there peacefully alongside his apprentice, the child, Din Grogu. Their homestead became a place for the duo to recharge in between missions. Their adventure was only just beginning. As you can see by even this brief history, the Mandalorian race is a proud and strong people, determined to make their mark in the galaxy. Their infighting and constant warring may be their greatest weakness, but the inherent loyalty to their traditions and culture remains their greatest strength. They have undergone incredible hardships, but nevertheless remain the galaxy's ultimate survivors. There are many more stories to be told of this fearsome warrior race and their quest to reclaim Mandalore. Repeat after me. This is the way.